day 2 of our survival unit, and we're still going to be working with the theme of fire today. So we are going to dip back into our curriculum to get the story and the word attack skills, the phonics work that goes along with the story that inspired this unit. We'll probably get halfway through that story today, and then we'll do the other half tomorrow. The students have a sub tomorrow, and having the scripted work when the sub is here tends to go really well because the script is easy to follow and the kids know the routine. So they have a chance to kind of be the experts and show the sub how it goes. I think it builds some camaraderie and some ownership in the classroom. So we're only going to get halfway through the curricular story today. The other half of the day, we are going to be building on the connections that the students made when we did our carousel walk yesterday, and the students walked around the room writing some thoughts in response to these prompts that I had posted around the room. I was really glad that we did this because, as often happens when we are explicitly engaging prior knowledge, some surprising things come up. Most of the students' association with fire was around cooking, around warmth, and around light. There was far less of a kind of abstract like beauty or creation or bringing people together. So there's a lot to build there. Kids did have experiences around campfires or some other just less common things, but there's a lot to build on there, and that's an exciting place to be. So I wanted to follow up with that activity, but also I wanted to talk about how when I went home, when I looked at those before I left yesterday, and then I went home, I kind of just let that like sink in my consciousness a little bit, like what their thoughts and experience around fire was and where we could go from here. And a story that they had read earlier in the year, there was a forest fire, and I remembered that there's an Arkansas poet, or I don't know if he's an Arkansas poet, but he's a poet with an Arkansas connection. His name is Forrest Gander. He was married to a super famous Arkansas poet, C.D. Wright. And Forrest Gander has 2 poems, one of which was published in 2021 in the New Yorker, and that I read, and it just blew me away. And it's called Post-Fire Walk. And the language of that poem is surreal and really challenging and bizarre and beautiful. And I don't think that that poem as written language would be accessible to my readers in a way that would prompt kind of further inquiry and curiosity. I think it would be off-putting for them, but I do think we could listen to it. And so I plan to play it as our warm-up today and invite them to sketch while we're listening and talk about how the way that a poem kind of moves sonically, even if you're not able to access the language, the meaning of the language, there's still an experience there for you. So we're going to spend just a little time on that. And then, having found that poem and thinking about accessibility, I found some other poems, 6 other poems that I put together in a packet, all of which are much shorter and much more accessible for my readers. And we're going to do an activity, a pair activity today, where we again go through stations, but with a pair, and reading a poem to each other from this packet, and talking about what we are finding. So my main takeaway from this experience was something I've realized many times over, and I probably should write about or do a video about or something, but having that open space to think about where your students are, what you could draw out from that, and then to bring your own ideas, your own background, your own, investigations about where you could go, how you could build on that. You can't do that until you have some feedback from your students, and then you have the time and space to actually let insight come. So how do we prioritize that for teachers? How do we make that space? How do we protect that space? How do we help teachers to understand that that's a really important part of what they do as teachers, as respond creatively as professionals to where their students are, so they can create something and offer something into the learning environment, a learning moment that would not have been possible had the particular students and the particular teacher not been involved in this active co-creation together. That to me, it gives me goosebumps just to say it out loud. That to me is like part of the magic of the craft of teaching. And I really want to do some more thinking and some writing about how we protect that for teachers and invite teachers into that space more often, because it's very fulfilling as a professional. And I think it makes for a really engaging and special learning environment for our students.